Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. This is live stream 831. This is your first time joining me. Let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news and taking a peek at a tabletop game. So tonight, I am going to crack open the Alien, the Role-Playing Game Corebook from Free League Publishing. Yes, this has been out for a bit. Yes, we've actually reviewed the PDF. Well, I haven't. Sammy did. And I know I've done some reviews of some of the other Alien products out there, like the starter set. But to be honest, I never had the core book. And I really wanted to check out the core book because this is supposed to have the campaign rules in it, whereas the starter set just has kind of the core mechanics and what they like to call the cinematic rules for the one-shot adventures that are out there, which for the most part is everything that's been released for Alien, the role-playing game, has been one-shots. Now, I didn't say one sessions, I said one-shots. So we're going to be diving into that in just a bit. Also, if you're not familiar with the stream, let me point out, we tackled the tabletop gaming news first, then we move on to the first look. So it'll be probably about 35 minutes before we dive on into that core book. So if you're watching live, just kick back, relax, put your feet up. Take it easy on yourself. But if you're watching after the stream ends, 30 minutes or more after it ends, then there will actually be timestamps throughout. Otherwise, I think YouTube is referring to them as chapters now. Regardless, they will be in the video. You'll be able to find them in the show notes, as well as possibly right there on the timeline of the video, depending on the device you happen to be watching this on. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, this is a live stream, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. Also, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay as well. So first out the gate tonight was the Motor City Madman, stopping on by, saying hello. We also have David Weisberger and Luke Anzalotti. Hopefully I got that correct. Zorak Zoran 1 is with us once again. Mr. Eddie T is saying howdy. We haven't heard from Mr. Eddie T in a bit. I'm taking a guess he's probably been, watching the show, just hadn't jumped into chat. Connor Dunning is in the house. So is Omanal Sarah D. So 3 of our 4 chat moderators are with us to this point. And Kevin R. Smith, as well as 245 Trioxin. So chat is off and running right off the bat. Very cool. Welcome aboard, everybody. Sorry, I was a couple of minutes late getting started tonight. I was getting everything set up. I was changing some lenses around on the cameras, I should say. So you'll notice a little bit of a different view over here. And the reason why I was trying to see if I could get just a little sharper as far as the text with the books. But the weird thing is, I actually kind of watch everything that's going on a 4K monitor. So the stream is in 1080p. So it doesn't always show me exactly. Things look a lot fuzzier than they actually are in 1080p. So anyway, I had everything all set up, and all of a sudden I bumped a key on my keyboard, and it made my OBS Studio, which is the program that I use to stream, full screen. And I was like, what the hell? And I'm like, okay, I'll hit the escape key. Nope, that wouldn't shrink it. So I had to screw around to shrink it back down to a minimized size. It's always something. Doug Roberts and MC are with us as well. MC's asking, has Jeff really not done a dive into the Alien RPG yet? Some of it I have, just never the core book. You know what? The funny thing is, a lot of times I actually have to ask my contact at Free League to receive things. She doesn't just automatically send everything that comes out. So I think by the time I asked for it, they were sold out. So this was the latest print run that was at Gen Con that I got my hands on. But yeah, I've done the starter set. I did Destroyer of Worlds. And we actually do have a review of the core book, but it was the PDF. Sammy did the review of it. So I personally have not dug into the book itself. So that's why we're doing it tonight. I thought we'd have some fun jumping on in. Yes, I know it's not the newest, freshest release out there, but it is an award winner. It is a very popular role-playing game. So, and we don't have to look at brand new stuff all the time. There's classic stuff out there. Come on, even though it's only a couple years old, but still. All right, let's jump on into the news, because returning to print for Crow D Games is Windmill Cozy Stories. Here's what I know. The playful wind wanders around the world, whirling from one windmill to another. Along the way, he catches the stories as they are told. He carries them past our windows, throws them as dewdrops at our feet, and hides them in the rustle of the leaves high above our heads. They're hidden everywhere, speaking softly to us. So on bright spring mornings or warm autumn evenings, when we go out into the garden or sit by the fire, we listen to the whispers of the wind and share his cozy stories. In Windmill Cozy Stories, players are storytellers who weave short tales, based on the hidden picture cards they draw. While one player tells a story, the other players attempt to guess the visible card that matches the story. The more opponents who guess incorrectly, the more points the storyteller receives when someone finally does correctly identify the card. On the other hand, if all the players fail to guess the picture, the storyteller loses points instead of winning them. You score points both by telling stories that are identified correctly and by guessing the stories told by others. Whoever earns the most points over the course of the game, obviously enough, is the winner. Windmill Cozy Stories is for 2 to 5 players, ages 8 and up. Plays around 20 to 40 minutes. And it's hitting stores, I do believe, this week. It will be back in stock, carrying an MSRP of $15. I definitely like the artwork. I think the artwork's pretty cool. I kind of get a kick out of the cat image on the cover, and it kind of fades into the night, and people are sitting around a campfire telling stories and that. think that's kind of cool. I think that is kind of cool. MC points out that they have all the Alien RPG stuff, but have never actually had a chance to play it. Omanal says they're still waiting for Heart of Darkness. Yes. I know. I thought that was supposed to be out. So, Double Z1 asks, do I keep all the games I review? Yes, I do. A lot of times what I will do is I'll auction them off. Sometimes I bring them down to Gen Con. In fact, after the news, I will talk about what's going on in October. October is going to be a big, big month here at the Gaming Gang. And I think people will get a kick out of it because I did this last year as well. And I will talk about that. And it does actually have to do with a lot of games that I have here in the Duct Tape Studios. Now hitting stores for Bright Eye Games is CoraQuest. Here's the scoop. CoraQuest is an exciting and accessible cooperative dungeon crawling game for 1 to 4 players, ages 6 and up. In CoraQuest, the players work together to guide 4 adventurers exploring a dungeon, avoiding traps, finding treasure, fighting monsters, and sometimes rescuing a gnome called Kevin. Wouldn't it be a gnome named Kevin? Isn't Kevin its name? I don't know, just kind of sounds weird. It's like, oh, the host of the Gaming Gang Dispatch is called Jeff. See, it doesn't sound right, does it? CoraQuest is a game that kids and grown-ups can play together and get equal amounts of fun from. It's also a game that sparks creativity, providing encouragement and guidance on how to create heroes, monsters, and adventures to make CoraQuest your own. All the artwork in CoraQuest is based on kids' drawings, much of it sent in from all over the world by the wonderful CoraQuest community. The art has been brought together by the chief colorer in, Gary King, to make a unique and charming looking game. CoraQuest is the highly anticipated lockdown Kickstarter hit designed by Dan Hughes and his 8-year-old daughter, you guessed it, Cora. Her name is Cora. She's not called Cora. A cooperative dungeon crawling game. It is for 1 to 4 players, and kids and grown-ups can play together. Avoid traps, find treasure, fight monsters. Spark your imagination by creating your own heroes, monsters, and adventures that truly makes CoraQuest unique time and time again. CoraQuest is once again for 1 to 4 players, ages 6 and up, plays around 60 minutes, and carries an MSRP of $39.99. This is supposed to be popping out in stores. I think it is also this week. I think this is a release coming out this week. A lot of interesting tidbits about this game. I have not seen it close up, obviously enough. All I've seen are some of the images that I'm sharing with you here. But on the website itself, there are extra quests that you can download. So I thought that is kind of cool. There's ways for you to create your own adventures, your own quests. And this also feels like a nice gateway to kind of introduce the concept of role-playing games, even though this is not a role-playing game. This is a board game. But kind of nice way to introduce the kids to role-playing games, dungeon delves, so on and so forth. And, you know, the artwork's kind of cool. I like that it's all based on artwork that was sent in from kids all around the world. Really nice. And $39.99, that's a pretty nice price as well. Speaking of nice prices, Bundle of Holding has a new money-saving offer, and it features role-playing games, which are powered by the apocalypse. Here's the deets on the apocalypse. How about taking a sip here, Jeff? Sarah D points out that Kevin the Gnome might actually be named Bob, but everyone calls him Kevin. And she likes the battle wheelchair. Tessie Trekkie is with us in chat, mentioning that their copy of Heart of Darkness arrived. And it's gorgeous. All right. Anyway, so Bundle of Holding has this new offer, and it's called the Apocalypse Engine 5 bundle. Here's the deets. Adventurer. This Apocalypse Engine 5 bundle is our 5th offer of tabletop role-playing games powered by the Apocalypse. That is based on Vincent and Miguel Baker's landmark indie RPG Apocalypse World. Since our last apocalyptic offer in May of 2020, new PBTA games have hit the hobby with great success. For just $9.95, you get all 5 complete games in the starter collection, which has a retail value of $46. There's Last Fleet. Shepherd a ragtag group of human survivors across deep space, pursued by an implacable enemy. That reminds me of something. What could that be? There's Pig Smoke, an RPG of sorceress academia. Behind-the-scenes rivalries at a prestigious wizarding school, plus 3 Ash Can editions, which are like previews, of forthcoming Magpie Games RPGs, Crossroads Carnival One Night Only Edition, Passing, and Rapscallion. And if you pay more than the threshold price of $30.10, that's probably changed already, you'll level up and also get the entire bonus collection with 5 more games and supplements worth an additional $67.50. There is The Between, monster hunting in Victorian London, designed by Jason Cordova, inspired by Penny Dreadful, which also includes The Between Season 2 expansion. There's Hearts of Wulan, fantastic. God, I always mispronounce this. Isn't it wuxia? Martial arts, action, and melodrama in ancient China. There's Void Heart Symphony, desperate people with occult powers fighting tyrants in an otherworldly nightmare castle. And Bite Marks, delicate and often bloody family dynamics among a pack of werewolves. These savings will run through October 10th, and 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to this offer's pandemic-related charity. You guessed it, Direct Relief. I got to admit, Last Fleet sounds very interesting, and I have heard of it. And actually, I've heard of almost all of these, and I've actually shared news pieces about many of these, except for the 3 previews from Magpie Games. Those 3 games I am not familiar with at all. But if you are familiar with Powered by the Apocalypse, it is a very unique mechanic. It is, for some people, a lot easier to wrap their heads around than traditional role-playing game mechanics. And then for other people, it's a little trickier to figure out than traditional role-playing game mechanics. Personally, I think it's very cool. I think Dungeon World's a pretty cool role-playing game as well. That was not from Magpie Games, but Apocalypse World is pretty much what created those mechanics, and thus why we call a lot of these games Powered by the Apocalypse. Kevin R. Smith says, about names and stuff, I always thought it was weird that the narrator of Moby Dick says, "Call me Ishmael." I wondered what his real name was, why the alias. Kevin says, also says that they saw this bundle earlier and wonder if anybody's heard if any of these games are any good. I have heard that Hearts of Wulan is very good. And as I mentioned, I heard Last Fleet looks interesting. Other than that, I don't know. I think Void Heart Symphony has done really well also. So there is that to kind of keep an eye out on as well. I don't know. Did I say hi to Doug Roberts? If I didn't, hello, Doug. Welcome aboard. Flaming Heron's with us in chat as well. We have all of our chat moderators hanging out right now. Sweet. Coming later this year from Modiphius Entertainment is a deluxe edition of Shawn Tomkin's Iron Sworn Space Forged. Oh, I should say Star Forged. Why did I say Space Forged? Yes, it's Space Forged. No, it's not. It's Star Forged, dummy. Here's a skinny on the new line coming from Modiphius. In Iron Sworn Star Forged, you're a spaceborne hero. That's why I said Space Forged. It's because I was kind of reading ahead and wasn't, you know how sometimes your brain short circuits like that, right? You're a spaceborne hero sworn to undertake perilous quests. You'll explore uncharted space, unravel the secrets of a mysterious galaxy, and build bonds with those you meet in your travels. Most importantly, you will swear ironclad vows and see them fulfilled, no matter the cost. Starforged is the standalone sci-fi evolution of the Iron Sworn tabletop role-playing game. Experience with Iron Sworn is not required to play. Starforged builds on Iron Sworn's award-winning innovations, including its famed solo play, to chart a path into an exciting new frontier. Starforged supports a trio of play modes. There's guided, where one or more players take the role of their characters, while a guide, the game master, moderates the session. There's co-op. You and one or more friends play to overcome challenges and complete quests without using a game master. And then you also have solo. You portray a lone character driven to fulfill vows in a dangerous galaxy. Starforged includes story-driven mechanics to put your character at the center of their quest-driven adventures. Tools to help you quickly build a setting, create your character, and set off into a universe of perils and opportunities. Creative prompts to eliminate game prep and push your adventures forward, with or without a GM. System-agnostic generators for on-the-fly discoveries of spaceborne locations, planets, settlements, people, creatures, starships, foreboding derelicts, ancient alien vaults, and more. There's also extensive advice, examples, and options for exploring the story of your characters and their fateful vows. The 400-plus page hardcover is going to be accompanied by a wire-bound reference book as well as character asset cards. They're going to be sold separately, but those are some new items that are going to be included in the Modiphius Entertainment edition of Iron Sworn Starforged. This new line is slated for a Q4 release, but I have not run across any MSRPs just yet. I have always heard really good things about Iron Sworn, and I heard good things about Iron Sworn Starforged, not Space Forged, Starforged. And something I find kind of interesting right now is Modiphius Entertainment is sort of taking the role that Cubicle 7 had about a decade ago. If you remember, back in the day, Cubicle 7 actually Entertainment published a lot of third-party games. So they did a lot of, now I'm not going to be able to remember their name. Isn't it like Cake Bread and Walton? Something like that. They had a series of different games. So there were some third-party, off the top of my head, I don't remember the title of it because I never saw it. Well, I saw it. I never actually had it. But it was kind of a Viking fantasy game and things like that. Now it's like Cubicle 7 only does their own stuff. They don't publish any third-party products anymore. And Modiphius Entertainment is now doing that. This is like the third or fourth game that they've picked up that now they're going to publish. And they also publish some of the Free League publishing stuff too. So although I think Free League is taking more of that on their own, I think in the next year or two, they'll maybe still have a relationship with Modiphius, but I don't think it'll be publishing wise. So Kevin says, so this is basically 2D20 with some narrative mechanics and solo play, or are those 2D10s? I thought those were 10-siders I saw. Not positive though. I do not believe this has any 2D20. Like I said, this is not a Modiphius game. This was designed by Shawn Tomkin. This has been out for a bit. I think it's been out for a couple of years because I know I did a news piece about this back in the day. So, Flaming Heron also points out they think it looks like D10s. MC points out that Cubicle 7 did the 5e Tolkien game, Tolkien, if you prefer that pronunciation, before Free League got it. Yeah, Adventures in Middle-earth was Cubicle 7 all the way. That was not somebody else's, that was theirs. The reason why they're not doing Adventures in Middle-earth is because they lost the license. It wasn't because it was a third party doing it. That was actually really what Adventures in Middle-earth was all the One Ring first edition releases that came out, ported over to 5e. It's really all it basically was. So Mr. Eddie T says D10s and D6s is what they are checking out. All right, moving right along to my final news piece. There's another impressive looking 5e release, which has arrived from CZRPG. Here's the dope on Amazing Encounters and Places. A 5e supplement presented in a gorgeous 304-page PDF, which provides you with 8 locations with lore and regional map, which you can drop into your own existing setting. There are 2 locations for each of the following terrain types: coasts, forests, mountains, and swamps. Each location provides 6 independent encounters tied into an overarching plot, which ends with a 7th encounter. So there's a total of 56 encounters in this release. Each encounter also has its own battle map, and you can grab the digital files for your virtual tabletop of choice. So there's a grand total of 56 battle maps. There are 38 custom art pieces with over 150 total art pieces, 32 new player options, including subclasses, lineages, magic items, feats, and spells, as well as 66 stat blocks of new creatures. With this supplement, you, the Dungeon Master, can quickly fill your world with awe-inspiring locations, speeding up your world building. In addition, each location features independent encounters that can be tied into adventures, providing you with new creatures, magic items, and player options. The content is scalable with guidance to run each encounter at any level or tier of play. This book is also crawling with stunning artwork and gorgeous maps, which will help support your game. And if your group prefers theater of the mind, the maps help you provide a more detailed and lively description. This book provides you and your players a ton of fun and amazing moments. Once again, this is a 304-page PDF. It is available over at DriveThruRPG right now for $24.99. This is the second news piece that I have shared about CZRPG because their releases just look so professional. They look really, really well done. And one of the things that I find stands out about at least the 2 products I've shared news with you about is the virtual tabletop maps look really, really nice. And each of the releases that I've taken a peek at are just jam-packed with them as well. So 304-page PDF. Plus, you get virtual tabletop maps for, I want to say, off the top of my head, I think it's 4 VTTs, all for $24.99. Personally, I think that's a pretty damn good deal, everybody. Jesus Nava is with us. Kathy Evans is stopping on by once again. Howdy, howdy. Boy, we got a rockin' chat tonight. See, last night was a little quieter because Monday Night Football, huh? I have to laugh. I'll talk about this in a second as I wrap this up. All right, anyway, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, like if you watch this show, you'd ever forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG, please swing by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, smash that like button like Sarah D was telling you. But also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always swing by paypal.me/gaminggang and making a small donation. And very recently, the Madman and Testy Trekkie both stopped by and made not so small donations, which I appreciate quite a lot. Thank you very, very much. All right. Anyway, so I started to say last night we had Monday Night Football on, and my mom is now betting online. I mean, we're talking like $2 bets and things like that. So, of course, she calls me up, and she's like, okay, well, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of this? And a lot of times I have to shoot down her bets because they're just... So she was asking what I thought of the games this week, including the spread, right? Taking the spread into account. So I gave her 8 picks. And out of those 8, 6 of them came in. And she was mad that I gave her 2 bad picks. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, seriously? If I were like some gambling, expert or something like that, call my 1-900 number. I'll give you my Monday Night Football lock. I'm like, how can you be? She won, I think. What did it all come out to? I think I just talked to her today because she had a couple of little bets. I think they were like $5 bets on each of the games last night. I think all together she ended up winning like $105 or something. I was like, you know what? That's not too bad for making $5 bets. I was like, come on. Fleming here and says, Mom sounds like a gambling addict. My mom likes to gamble. My mom does not gamble large amounts. So there is that. Anyway, funny enough, I really didn't play any football this weekend. I'll probably make a few bets this coming week. But yeah, I was busy, just so wrapped up doing stuff. I didn't. And the thing is, I'm not one of these people who's like, yeah, I'm not going to do any research. I'm just going to go, that sounds right. Given 5 points. Yeah, 5.5 points. Yeah, okay. I like to take a look at stuff. So Kevin says the spread is supposed to fix it so you succeed 50% of the time, so you beat the house. If you only win 50% of the time, you will lose money because of the VIG. Or the juice. I guess they like to call it juice now. So, Testy Trekkie says gambling's a real problem in Australia. Pensioners putting their entire pension through the pokies. I think gambling's a problem just about anywhere there is gambling. Coco B points out They never hear when gamblers lose, only when they win. I know. That's kind of funny, too. It's like, yeah, I lost my ass. Hey, but I won that $20 bet. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Anyway, so I was going to tell you about something else that's going on in October that I forgot to mention last night. So as we already know, every episode of The Dispatch in October will be devoted to role-playing games. I am going to do my best to have a new review each and every day of October. There is also going to be the October Spooktacular returning once again. So each evening, there will be a spooky old-time radio show. Some of them not so old. Some are from the 70s and 80s, but the vast majority are from 40s and 50s. Some 30s, actually. I might actually share one episode of The Shadow. If memory serves me right, Orson Welles was playing The Shadow at the time, and it's like really creepy episode. So I don't think I've ever shared it before. So that is coming. Also, in October, I am going to do a 50-50 game sale. So in November is the Extra Life for Kids event where we try to do a marathon, right? Kind of almost like a telethon. We've done it twice. I don't think we've done it 3 times. We've done it twice. And then, of course, COVID wrecked it the past couple of years. I don't know if we'll be able to do it this year. But last year, I did a 50-50 auction with games that I've got. And, of course, a question earlier from Double Z1 was, do I keep the games I review? And for the most part, yes. Some of them I give away. But for many of them, all right, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I donate some stuff to some places. Not going to get into that, but I also give them sometimes, like Elliot or my nephew Cameron have gotten games from me and things like that. But for the most part, I got a lot of games. And they're really not doing anything, right? They're not getting off my shelf. So I want to see them, in good homes getting played. So as opposed to doing an auction, I am just going to do a sale. I am going to have some rock bottom prices. So you can stock up on as much stuff as you want, and it's going to be first come, first served. So whoever contacts me with a list of stuff that they want, they will be getting their hands on it first. And then I'll just go through like once a day and just, cross stuff off. Flaming Heron asks, you have a lot of games, Jeff? Tries not to stare too much in the background. This is hardly anything. Behind me, those of you who tuned in a little bit late, you may notice that the camera is a little bit different. I swapped out lenses, so it's a little closer up, which I don't necessarily want. But I'm trying to see if I can get sharper imaging on the print with the books. Tessie Trekkie asks, do I have an RPG library of 1,000+ books? I do not. Flaming Heron says stare. Yes, I knew it was stare. That's what I said it. Tessie Trekkie also asks, are we going to have Halloween themed RPG reviews? A few. We will have a few horror themed reviews. That's why I've been holding off on the 2 most recent Call of Cthulhu releases. You know what? I could do 3 for the month. So maybe we'll have one each week. So you may remember I got that box with all like the first edition Call of Cthulhu reproductions that I've got a review for. Of course, a Time to Harvest, as well as Cults of Cthulhu. I can share reviews as well. Yes, Flaming Heron's like, scary kids, scary. So, but it will not all be horror stuff because I don't have enough. right? I don't have, 18? Well, no, I guess it would be maybe 13, 14, depending on how the month plays out, So, also, don't forget, next week, no streams. So, because I'm going to be prepping stuff. In fact, I was getting ready earlier today. I got the first of the Spooktacular episodes recorded. So I am bouncing around if I want to include them on the channel. Just shoot video for the open and the close. And then just, because if you ever bounce around on YouTube, you'll see there are podcasts and there are old time radio shows galore. And all it basically is an image and you're just listening to it. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just going to do it like I usually do, upload it to archive.org, link to it at the website, or just do a little video and use the audio from that, from the show that I'm sharing. I don't know. I got to be honest. I think I'm just going to do the archive.org and just do the audio because I got enough stuff going on for October. I don't know if I want more work. Okay. So we're going to be taking a look at the Alien, the role-playing game Corebook in just a couple of moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
It's refreshment time, folks.
Taste that beats the others cold. Pepsi pours it on. Taste that beats the others cold. Pepsi pours.
I wave my magic wand. I wave it twice. I don't drink Wilkins. I wave it again.
This filter cigarette brings you real tobacco flavor, rich and full. The exclusive Winston filter works so effectively, the flavor comes right through to you. Try Winston, America's most popular filter cigarette. Winston tastes good, like a cigarette should.
Yes. Wontkins lives on in a pocket dimension, according to Kevin. We don't know if he lived or died. We don't know. Yes, and what was with the serving cigarettes with the meal on your flight? I had never heard of that before. And yes, I actually do remember being able to smoke on a plane. So by the time I was old enough to fly, like alone by myself, the smoking section was in the back of the plane. In fact, I remember going to Las Vegas, speaking of gambling, with my best friend Elliot Miller for my 21st birthday. I had already turned 21 a couple of days before. And we flew, was it America West? I think it was America West, if I remember right. I think that was the airline. And not only could you smoke in the back of the plane, and you had, you know, the ashtray and the armrest, but it was free drinks. So we got snockered up on screwdrivers. Mr. AT's asking, did the smoking section stink up the whole plane? I would think it did. I would really think it did. So, yep, MC says, yeah, smoking section always in the back. Tomorrow I'm going to share a Winston commercial that if you missed the last time I shared a Winston commercial, might blow your mind. Because I know there were some folks who were like, wait a second, what? From back in the days when you could advertise cigarettes on TV here in the United States. Yes. Did I need to give you a trigger warning before that? Like when you're watching Netflix and it's like tobacco use. I think some of that's so ridiculous. Coco P said they went to England from Canada in the smoking section and thought they were going to die. Yes. And MC says everything kind of had a tobacco-y smell in the 80s. Just like you check into a motel somewhere and you get a room that you're like, oh man. And I mean, I smoked for years and you're like, wow, you can really smell that old cigarette smell. Just kind of, it's like, okay. Anyway, as previously mentioned, tonight we are going to take a first look at Alien, the role-playing game, the Corebook from Free League Publishing. It's written by Tomas Härenstam with Andrew E.C. Gaska, who actually has written all the adventures for, as far as I know, they're all of them for this role-playing game to this point. Artwork is provided by Martin Grip, John R. Mulaney, and Axel Tavenu. I know I mispronounced that last one. Sorry about that. The 392-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $57.99. The PDF is available at DriveThruRPG normally for $24.99, but it is actually on sale this week. That's right, because there is a Free League Publishing sale going on right now. So you can actually pick it up for $14.99 in PDF. Pretty sweet. Clint Gibson is with us in chat. Says Roll for Combat. Welcome aboard. So let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Alien, the role-playing game. Dun, dun, dun. All right, first of all, let's get rid of the shrink wrap on it. All right, come on. I cut through some of this earlier. So we'll get rid of that bit of glare. We'll get that out of the way. So a few things I do want to point out before we jump on in. First off, the fine folks over at Free League Publishing were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And of course, these days, it's very important that you know that. As usual, I'll be staying picture-in-picture up here. So I will be cutting off a bit of the upper left portion of this book. We're not going to look at each and every page, but I do want to give you a good feel for what you're going to find in this core rule book. Also, remember, there is a starter set out there, which I really liked. I thought it was very, very well done, that has all of the rules if you're only looking to run these cinematic adventures. This core book has the kind of like campaign rules as well, which is I'm very, very interested to take a peek at. I know this has been out for a while, but I didn't have an opportunity to grab it from Free League Publishing before. So it was back in print. So I got this at Gen Con from the fine folks over at Free League. All right. We are not going to read all of this from the back, but we'll do a little bit. And the funny thing is, I always get a kick out of people who are like, oh, geez, why do you read the stuff on the back of the book? Publishers actually like that. I've gotten emails and comments from publishers saying, hey, thanks for reading the back of the book. We put a lot of effort into writing that. And usually reviewers just ignore it. I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies. Space is vast, dark, and not your friend. Gamma rays and neutrino bursts erupt from dying stars to cook you alive. Black holes tear you apart, and the void itself boils your blood and seizes your brain. Try to scream, and no one can hear you. Hold your breath, and you rupture your lungs. Space isn't as empty as you'd think either. Its frontiers are ever expanding. Rival governments wage a cold war of aggression, while greedy corporations vie for valuable resources. Colonists reach for the stars and gamble with their lives. Each new world tamed is either feast or famine. There are things lurking in the shadows of every asteroid, things strange and different and deadly. So MC says they actually think the quality of this book is beneath what Free League has been doing lately in terms of paper quality and presentation. All right, let's find out. Let's see what we have got. So here we've got the stars of the middle heavens. So we got this broken up into our chapters: Space is Hell, your character, skills, talents, combat and panic, gear, the hard life amongst the stars, your job as game mother. I swear I just don't care for that. I know, I get it. I understand why it's called that, but it just sounds odd. Even if you were a woman who's the game master, it just sounds kind of weird. Governments and corporations, systems and planets, alien species, campaign play. So actually about 30 pages. And Hope's Last Day, which looks like we've got a starting adventure. Flaming Heron says, reading the backs of plenty of books has sold me on them. Me too, as a kid in a bookstore. What other way were you going to find out if the book was something that you'd be interested in? Space is Hell. All right, so we're going to be jumping through. So what's the story, Mother? The titular alien in all its iterations is the stuff of nightmares. From neomorph to xenomorph, the mystique surrounding these creatures is mesmerizing. The alien represents everything we don't understand about the natural world. It evokes a fear of our bodies being violated and used. It is a parasitic invader whose only intent is to use humanity to breed and incubate its progeny. The alien life cycle is one of death and renewal, but the only part people play in that circle is death. So yes, we've got the glossy paper, as MC is pointing out. I will mention that the paper stock is not bad, but I do understand where MC's coming from, because many of the Free League Publishing releases, as an example, let's take, Things from the Flood, Tales from the Loop. They're matte finish, and the paper feels a little thicker. Now, that's not to say that it is. It just seems to feel a bit thicker. But I will point out, compared to, say, Dungeons and Dragons releases, most of them, although I will point out the paper stock that WotC is using on some of the more recent releases has been better. But some of the adventures and supplements from, say, a year or two ago have really thin paper. This is nothing like that. So far, far better quality than that. But I can see where MC's coming from. I will say one thing I am never super keen on is the dark backgrounds. With the light text on dark backgrounds, it just tends to wear on your eyes. I know when Modiphius Entertainment released Star Trek Adventures, and even the PDF was just black background, white text. Great game, lot of fun. Awful, awful reading experience. That's why, of course, it was not very long before they went and had a printer-friendly edition come out. Role-playing Alien. Each player in this game, except one, which is the game mother, we already know that, takes the role of a player character. You might be a space colonist, a space trucker, space truckin', a Marine, or something else. You decide what your PC thinks and feels, what they say and do, but not what happens to them. It's your job as a player to portray your PC and imagine yourself in their boots. Your PC is a person with feelings and dreams just like yourself. Try to imagine, how would you react if you were in their place? What would you do? See, that's not necessarily how I approach role-playing games. I run across far too many people who, when they're playing a role-playing game, it's like, hi, I'm Bob, and my player character is essentially Bob in this game world. And it sort of can be a little boring. Player characters are always the protagonists of the story. The game is about you, your decisions, your story. So here we've got game modes. So they do call it campaign play. For some strange reason, I was thinking they called it something else. I knew we had the cinematic game, and it is the campaign game. All right. So we already know we got about 30 pages of that. So Kevin is mentioning they were wondering what the complaint was. Just looking at the book on camera, the matte finish looks fancier than their standard uncoated stuff. Well, this actually really isn't a matte finish. This does have some gloss to it, because you can see it picking up a little bit of glare from the lights. It's not a ton of gloss. That's one thing. But it's not really thin. The paper is not really thin, at least in my opinion, as somebody who pages through, excuse me, a lot of stuff. Right, so we got our what is a role-playing game. Core concepts for your character. Career, attributes, skills, your career talent, your name. Decide on your appearance. Decide on your personal agenda. Choose your buddy and rival. Pick your gear and a signature item, and roll for cash. One aspect of the cinematic adventures that they've released so far, like in the starter sets, I really like what they've done with the NPCs and the pre-generated characters. There is a lot of background detail that the players and the GM can utilize, and I really did appreciate that. I thought that was pretty cool. Kind of went the extra mile, and I do like the fact that the player characters, the pre-gens, are not all on the same page. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. I don't know if that's going to be the case in the short introductory adventure here or not. All right, so we got Colonial Marines. So we've got that as, I guess this is probably your career. There is also a Colonial Marine supplement that is out. Colonial Marshal, Company Agent, Kid. I'm just going to play a kid. Obviously, you're a colonist. You've got medic, officer, pilot. I think I've told the story before that in Aliens, the actress who plays the pilot of the dropship, my brother is friends with her. So my brother has done extra work and stand-in work. He hasn't done any in a while, but he did a lot of it. In fact, if you watch The Dark Knight, there's some scenes where he plays a cop where he's like right there. He's like dead center. In fact, I had people who reached out to me when the movie came out, and they're like, "Hey, was your brother in that? I swear, I thought I saw your brother in that." And it's like, yes, he was in it. So I just thought that was kind of wild that that the pilot was a pal of his when he lived out in California. So Kevin says, I would hope at least one pre-gen is a turncoat in an Alien game. There was one in, I think, I'm trying to remember if it's the starter set adventure or the other adventure that I took a look at, that yes, one of them is a trader. All right, so getting into skills. So we've talking about the mechanics. If I remember correctly, and it's been a long time since I took a look at one of the Alien releases. If I remember correctly, it does use kind of a modified year one engine. So you're rolling D6s and you're looking for 6s to succeed. So here we've got our talents. 17 days. Hey, man, I don't want to rain on your parade, but we're not going to last 17 hours. Those things are going to come in here just like they did before. And they're going to come in here, Hudson, and they're going to come in here and they're going to kill us. Hudson, this little girl survived longer than that with no weapons and no training, right? Well, why don't you put her in charge? Yes. Game over, man. Game over. We used to say that all the time. We still do. Every once in a while, we'll be playing something and somebody's like way ahead or whatever. It's like, game over, man. Game over. So talking about different talents here, officer talents, pilot talents, roughneck talents, scientist talents. So as an example, colonial marine talents, banter. Between fights, you'll release tension in your team with some friendly banter. Overkill. You don't run and hide when the going gets tough. Instead of panicking in the face of mortal danger, you can turn your fear into aggression and use it as a weapon against your enemy. That is one of the aspects about this game as well. It does have a mechanic as far as, terror and freezing under pressure and things like that. Officer talents. We have field commander, influence, pull rank. So it looks as if every career has a trio of talents. Flaming Heron says, got a feeling that game over, man, game over is a common occurrence when you play an Aliens game. Yes, but I'm not talking about playing an Aliens game or Alien game. I'm talking about any game. Plus, we didn't even have to be playing a game for us to be like, game over, man, game over. All right, so here we've got our bookmark. So we've got combat, there you go, and panic. I was just talking about that. You're all going to die. Only question is how you check out. Do you want it on your feet or on your fucking knees? Begging. Okay. Weird thing is, now I know I saw the third and fourth Alien movies. I don't remember them well. Probably because they weren't all that good. For one, the third Alien movie, it was kind of a pisser that they killed Newt and Hicks. I was like, what? Come on, man. All right, so we've got close combat. Ranged combat. So if your attack hits, you inflict damage equal to the weapon's damage rating on your opponent. For every extra, so essentially it's your 6. You roll, choose one of these stunts. So So wait a second. So let's take a look here real quick. Let's go back. Where is our game mechanics? Taking a peek here. So like I said, if I remembered correctly, it is kind of just a little bit of a takeoff on the year one engine, which is a dice pool. Okay, so there are two types of custom six-sided dice for this game, each available separately and included in the box starter set. Base dice and stress dice. So the base dice have a little, almost like a flare symbol on the 6 side. Rolling that symbol usually means an effect of some kind is triggered, for example, when succeeding at using a skill. The stress dice also have a face hugger symbol on the 1. Rolling the face hugger triggers panic in your character. How all this works in detail, you learn in chapter 3. So, like I thought that was kind of the you're rolling 6s for successes. So Mr. Eddie T says this might be heresy, but he has not seen any of the Alien movies. It was a long time. I'll be the first to point out, it was a long, long time for me to actually see Alien. I saw Aliens umpteen times before I ever watched Alien. Because I had just heard it was pretty intense. And then I watched it. I was like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah. There's some parts where you're like, okay, all right. Oh, well, there's a jump scare there. But for the most part. So, Kevin says Prometheus, the Plan 9 from outer space of the 2010s. I did not watch it. I did watch Covenant. Oh, no, wait. Which one came first? Is it Prometheus? I saw one of them. I saw the first one. And it was sort of like, All right. The next one I didn't see. I didn't watch. And the thing is, I know a lot of people hated that first one. And I was like, it was all right. It was okay. The thing I kind of get a kick out of is Ridley Scott's kind of like, well, I'm making the movie I want to make. I'm not making the movie you want to see. Which I kind of get. I think that's fine. Right. So then we get into gear. Now, I know in the starter set, there was like loads of gear. So there's a lot of weapons and stuff in here, I am sure. So we're going to break down if there's a bonus, what their damage is. So you're not rolling dice for damage. Although if you get extra successes, you can increase the damage. I think that is one of the extra feats that you can choose. But for an example, like unarmed attack 1, blunt instrument 1, knife 2, stun baton 1. So those are the number of damage points. So there's a discussion of panic cascading on the stress dice. One person panics and the rest follow, which is realistic. So we've got a bunch of gear, food and drink. Start getting into vehicles. There you go. The armored personnel carrier from Aliens. I thought Aliens was awesome. I think that is a fantastic movie. Hyper Sleeping with the Stars. Spaceships, space stations. What I am most interested in, and we've seen some of this already with some of the Alien releases that I've covered, is how much they flesh out this setting. That how much of it are they kind of reined in on because of the IP? So I'm just kind of curious about that. But if you think about it, you could take a lot of the background from, say, Traveler, kind of plug this into it, or plug that into this, if you didn't necessarily want to stick strictly to the whole alien setting. But yeah, I'm kind of curious about, because I've seen comments before about how 2 or 3 adventures seem like they'd be pretty cool, but it's pretty hard to imagine having a, long ongoing campaign in this setting. And I can see where people are kind of curious about that, because if your characters are only colonial Marines, well, then, how much are they going to cover? Of course, like I said before, there is that additional supplement that did come out. So, well, Doug Roberts is rocking out. Disavowed 92 has rocked on in. So welcome aboard, and thanks for stopping in, Doug. All right, so we have ship combat. That's interesting. Game principles. Riff from the movies. Limit their resources. Stay in the shadows. Increase the pressure. Let them breathe. That's something I do a lot when I would run Call of Cthulhu adventures. You always got to have a moment where you let them catch their breaths just long enough to think, hey, you know what? Maybe we've got this taken care of. And then, of course, it's like, no, you don't. Fuel their agendas. Bring horrible death. PCs will die and die horribly. When the time comes, make the most of it. Embrace death. The Alien franchise is known for its iconic death scenes, so make it the same for your game. A player character death can be gruesome and tragic, but sometimes cathartic too. It raises the stakes for the for the survivors who need to up their game and find a way to press on. So we got our themes: space horror, science fiction action, sense of wonder. I always felt Alien, at least the first Alien movie, was a little bit of body horror as well. Because, of course, H.R. Geiger did the designs for the alien ship and the eggs. And, of course, H.R. Geiger was, I guess we'll say, interesting character. So, stress and horror, cinematic play, and campaign play. There's more to the Alien universe than meets the eye. The movies, books, and comics barely scratch the surface. You and your players can go deeper than that in campaign play. This game mode is meant to be played for a longer period of time, at least 5 or 6 game sessions, and often much more than that. In campaign play, the PCs can roam the star map, take jobs, and go on adventures, all while discovering long-lost secrets, scheming with different factions, and fighting to stay alive. Right, so we get a discussion here of governments and corporations. I think our campaign rules are further in. So this looks like this is where we start getting our background and our setting fluff, as some people would refer to it. I always mention, people think fluff is a derogatory term, and I know some folks out there do use it as a derogatory term. I don't use it in a negative sense. It's just, it's not gameable mechanics. That's basically what fluff is. Fluff is, setting background, just, the history of the universe, the game universe, cultural things, all different stuff. Flaming Heron says there's positive and negative fluff. Yeah, well, with some fluff, it's just filler. Now that's different. Filler's not necessarily good. sometimes you run across stuff. You see this in adventures a lot, where you kind of get the impression that the author was working freelance and they're getting paid by the word, because they're pumping a bunch of filler into it that has absolutely nothing to really do with what's going on at the table. No one's going to utilize that information. See that a lot with role-playing games where it's like, oh, hey, this room used to be the bakery, or this building used to be the bakery, and all these things used to go on in the bakery, but doesn't matter anymore because it's not a bakery anymore. It's an abandoned building. So, Tessie Trekkie says the campaign in the back of the Colonial Marine book is explicitly not xenomorphs at every turn. It's a lot of human infighting. I got to point out, I did a first look at the Colonial Marines book. I did not get an opportunity to read it. I actually assigned the PDF to somebody, and I have not gotten a review back. So I probably will have to dive in. So here we've got different alien species. The engineers. The xenomorphs. What I'm kind of curious is, if you remember in Aliens, they're talking about, is this another bug hunt? What were those bugs? So right there, they pretty much tell you that there are other alien life forms out there, not just these xenomorphs. All right, so talking about the gestation of the chest burster, other extrasolar species, the swarm. So there you go. Those are the bugs, no doubt. All right, now we get into campaign play. And this looks like we had some of the GM section here. Now we get into campaign play. And it looks like we've got creating worlds, job generator, cargo runs. Looks like we got a lot of just random tables for stuff. I would say from what we have seen so far, this is a pretty solid core rule book. Like I said before, I really liked the starter set. I thought the starter set was well done. Okay. So we're getting towards the end here. We've got I think this is our adventure. I believe so. Yep. So here we have Hope's Last Day. Isn't Hadley's Hope, isn't that the colony in Aliens? Or am I just cracking up? Maybe I'm just cracking up. Okay, so here we've got some maps, different locations. I will point out that Alien, the role-playing game, is another one of these sort of scene-based role-playing games. So it's kind of, relatively cinematic, where it's, okay, well, scene ends, fade to black, move to the next scene, things like that. So Flaming Heron says, yes, that is the name of the colony. That's what I thought. I thought that's what it was. All right. So that is Alien, the role-playing game core book from Free League Publishing. Once again, you can pick up the hardcover for an MSRP of $57.99. The PDF is available over at DriveThruRPG. It's normally $24.99 this week, and this week only. You can grab it for $14.99. Swinging over to the other camera here. If I can actually get my mouse to wake up. Sweet. All right. So once again, we have a review of this core book. Sammy did it. So if you are curious about Sammy's take on Alien, the role-playing game, by all means, swing on over to thegaminggang.com and check it out. So like I say all the time, if you're not going over to thegaminggang.com, you are missing out on a lot of tabletop gaming news and reviews. So don't forget, take a peek. So CZ, I don't know how to pronounce that, who also just happens to be CZRPG, which we were talking about that news piece a little while ago, is with us in chat. Very nice. Welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us. Coco B points out that the art looks pretty good in Alien, the role-playing game, but it's Free League. What do you expect? No surprises there. Yes. Free League normally has solid artwork. We've got a few of our friends in the industry that we can usually rely on to have some pretty cool artwork in just about every one of their releases. Cubicle 7 Entertainment, that's another example. Modiphius Entertainment usually has really good, solid artwork and uniform artwork as well, which in my opinion is kind of important because I don't know, there's just something about when you run across something and it's like, wow, that's a really cool art piece there. And then you flip a few pages and you're like, oh, what the hell is that? Did somebody's kid draw that? What is that? Takes you out of the inspiration for like playing the game or running the game. All righty then. So what's cooking tomorrow? Well, it is going to be a War Game Wednesday. That's right. We are going to be unboxing and taking a look at Great Battles of Julius Caesar, the deluxe edition from GMT Games. Already pointed out yesterday, this is packed with 20 battles. So I can tell you right now, this box has some solid heft to it. And we're going to run into, I'm taking a stab in the dark, a bunch of paper maps inside for these battles as well. Double-sided. I'm kind of curious if we're going to see kind of like the treated maps that we have seen recently from GMT Games. Hopefully, big thumbs up. Okay, and don't forget, next week, no streams, but I will be back the week after that. Next week, I will be prepping all this stuff I have been talking about that's coming in the month of October. It is going to be a spooktacular at the Gaming Gang. That is for certain. Okay, that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. If you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming look at the paint box edition of Rackham Vale from Crowbar Creative. So that is on the horizon. Yes, I know I've already reviewed this, but this is the color edition. Just going to take a peek through. Probably be, I don't know, maybe a 15-minute video. It's not going to be super long. Okay. So if you're watching live, thank you very much. Really, really appreciate that. But if you took part in chat, well, hey, tip of the cap and bonus experience points, not only for keeping me company, but keeping each other company as well. Of course, I know a lot of people out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch this live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very kindly for taking time out of your busy life to watch any of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel. Should also mention, big thank you to everybody out there. We have cracked 8,000 subscribers on the channel as well. I'll probably talk a little bit about that tomorrow. Anywho, of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, don't forget, visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. I'll be back tomorrow. And of course, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.